Welcome, Barry, to this is like the second edition of this. I'm so excited to have you on this. This is our podcast. This is our Conscious Healing Global podcast. In fact, this is the first edition of the Conscious Healing Global. So this one here, we're going to talk a little bit about something that's very close to my heart. As you know, all the listeners know, myself, I'm a healer, coach, entrepreneur. And the biggest problem that we have in this industry, especially being in Africa, being in South Africa, is that we get into business because we have a skill. We have a passion to help people, to help them heal, to help them get over a hurt or whatever it is that they do. And then the bigger problem is that we start charging, and then there's another problem that we become entrepreneurs. We actually have a business. We have to take admin. We actually have to manage people's information carefully, and then we have to manage our diaries and all these other types of things we have to work on. And then there's other problems with being in a business, being like that clients don't pitch. You lose money on you set up all this room and this whole type of vibe, and then you have to market. There's all these other aspects that come into creating a business. And Barry is a sales coach. He is my sales coach. This man is a great teacher. He really teaches from the heart. He's someone that I really respect, and we're working together as well, which is watching him work and learning from all the content. I thought, geez, have to get Barry on here. I have to get him to come and speak to us. And we just thought, let's just talk about some of these things, and maybe you can give us some insight. So Barry, you're in sales. I mean, that's like we're actually talking like that was one of your skills. You're a salesman.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm honored. Hey, first of all, great to be here, and great to be with all you guys that are watching this. And I heard something interesting. When you say people start off, you're a coach, you have a passion, you want to impart your knowledge and all that sort of stuff. And that's brilliant. But the sticking point comes is when you realize you actually have to make money. And a lot of times, sadly, there's little voice issue around, I have to make money. And one of the biggest things where I see people in the coaching, training type of sphere struggle is they can't flip and sell. And I don't know how to put it more simply, but they can't. Mm. They can't, they don't want, they don't think they should have to. Mm. And a lot of times, I think we fall into this trap that because I have a skill and I have a passion, people are going to come flocking to me. The reality is this, no they're not. Because there's hundreds and thousands of other people that do similar things and that we're competing with. Doesn't mean you're never going to build a business, but fundamentally it comes down to how can you get out and sell. And sales is not an intergalactic art. You don't need a degree to sell. That's probably why I've been in it for 25 years. But it's the art of connecting with people and uncovering problems, and it's a learned skill. And for most trainers, coaches, that is an area that I believe they seriously struggle at.
I mean, like let's just talk about the sales aspect of things, because especially in the healing world, not so much like the conventional coaching, but the healing world, they tend to have issues with just even accepting money. So I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but I've been to many healers where basically, put the money on the box on the way out type of thing. And we end up having this thing where client maybe comes or doesn't pitch, and then you've already lost out on that potential income.
Yeah.
That's the one side, and then the other side is just like, how do I get people to actually get to know I am here?
Okay, so the one is around taking money. Look, if you have a business is the exchange of money for a service. That is a business.
Right.
If it's not the exchange and it's a freebie, then it's not a business, and don't call it a business. Call it a free donation service. Come, and if I make some money out of it, cool.
Yeah.
But when you can't survive and you can't live and you can't pay your bills, don't complain.
Yeah.
And it might sound harsh, and I might be challenging a few people, but a business is the exchange of goods and services, pretty simply, for money. And get out there and be prepared to charge for what you offer. I've spent too many years giving people stuff for free. Now, in my business, I do a lot of free stuff, but it's strategically driven to be free.
Right.
Now, I don't coach people for free unless it's strategic and I know that I'm working. So, for example, I could coach you over the next couple of months for free, but it's not actually for free because you and I are working, developing a whole back end to my business. Very different. But to have someone come and sit down with me for an hour and then say, if you liked what I did, drop some money in the box, I'm never going to survive. But also, then I don't put a value on myself. I understand my value. If you want to work with me, then create the value. Now, on the other hand, one of my greatest dreams is to be able to teach for free. Okay? So now that might sound totally the other side. But what I'm doing in order to allow me to do that is I'm building a business that is annuity based so that it doesn't rely on me over a period of time, but that doesn't happen overnight. I'm building an annuity based business around creating cash flow, creating investments, creating all those type of things so that in the next couple of years, financially, I have enough income coming in from the other sources that I've created that I can choose who I want to charge, when I want to charge, if I want to charge, and then I have no issues. Right now, my business is what pays me and keeps me alive and keeps my kids going to school. I charge for it. So up until you get to that point when you have another source of income, charge for what you do. And don't be scared to charge for what you do. And what you'll do is you'll attract people that are prepared to pay you for what you do. You know, too many people, I think, you know, I was in a seminar a while ago in Phoenix, Arizona with Robert Kiyosaki, and somebody stood up and said, you know, I'm in a non-profit organization, so we don't really have to sell. He went, excuse my language, bullshit. He goes, everyone has to make a flippin' profit. How do you survive? How do you pay your rent? Non-profit, sure, but if you want to get your coaches and everyone to come, you've got to be able to pay for your facilities. You've got to be able to pay for your food. You've got to live.
Yeah.
So you've got to charge for something.
Yeah.
So again, for me, money is that little voice thing. Deal with the little voice thing and understand that if you're in business, charge for it. And you're selling something. And there's exchange. You know, the other side, and I think you and I have talked about it before, sometimes when you give stuff for people for free, you rob them of the ability to actually pay you and give you fair exchange for what you've given them back. So we think, I have people, I've given them free seats in a seminar, they've never respected the seminar. I make people pay, boom, they're there on time. So be careful when you're not charging people, because sometimes I believe you rob them of the ability to get true value from what you're giving them by feeling in fair and equitable exchange. And fair and equitable exchange in the area of business is important.
Sure, I mean, like, you mentioned that's like a free model is part of your business.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, with and obviously I suggest that you all attend this, because I mean, like, I've been to the Sales Explosion, and it's a great event that really kicks someone off in terms of the mindset, in terms of the right way to think, and especially around, because you did this and you mentioned the little voice, and that little voice is literally that thing that keeps talking to you, stopping you from getting and doing and being the person that you want to actually be in the world. And I'd say there's obviously a lot of that little voice speaking when people are scared to charge what they're worth, and scared to actually demand it right up front. Let's talk about getting exposure. If we just briefly talk about, I mean, like, because the bigger thing is, let's just say I'm a masseuse type of person. I heal through massage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, now my type of clientele, I mean, I'm competing against the spas. I'm competing against some of the bigger players in the game. How do I actually get in front of people? I mean, how do
Good. So that's when you start, you can, you know, we have a saying that says serve first. So go out and do something that you have the ability to do for free. Go and serve other people, with the expectation that if you serve them properly, you will start creating relationships and they will get value out of what you do. So let's take the example of a masseuse. Let's say the masseuse wants to start a business in the corporate world, stress relieving executives and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I was that masseuse, what I would do is I would go and I would knock on some of the doors of the big corporates, and I would offer free 1 hour sort of 10-minute slots for the executives to come in at any time and experience how I massage and what I do. What that would do is that would fill the top of my pipeline with a group of prospective prospects. Now, if you did that, if I did that as the masseuse for 4 hours a day for 2 weeks, and I could get 4 people per hour, that's 16 people I'd get a day. That's 5 days, that's 50, that's 80 people a week.
Yeah.
In a month, and I do it for 4 weeks, I'd have 320 people. Now I'd have a funnel of 320 people that have experienced what I do. Now, with 320 people, I'm going to close 20% of those people.
Sure.
I'll have 7 clients.
Yeah.
Or no, let's say, sorry, I'll have 60 clients. But let's just say out of those 320 people, I only close 10%. I'm going to have 32 clients.
Yeah.
32 clients that I can go back that can start paying me.
Yeah.
Now, what I might do is I might think I'm worth 1,000 Rand an hour or $1,000 an hour. But what I'll do is I'll charge those first 32 clients 500 Rand an hour and give them a 50% discount as they're my first clients.
Yeah.
And then what I would do is I'd drive referrals from them. Who do you know that would like this same thing? Boom, my business is born. I've sold. I've served first. I've done stuff for free. I created in my model that I start going now, having a client base, work on those 32 people, sell to them, give them a discount, drive a referral off them. Now we're in exchange. Of those 32, maybe 50% will stay and come again, and maybe 50% won't. But now, can you see how you start feeding the funnel?
Yeah.
And it's simple, but the thing that'll hold the person back is that thing you talked about just now, the little voice.
Right.
Because someone's sitting going, wow, that's so simple. But what happens if they say no? But what happens? Because it comes down to the most important thing of all, and that's the sale to ourselves. So all the strategies and all that are great, but if you can't sell to this, if you can't sell to yourself, why are you going to go and do it? Why are you going to go knock on a corporate door? Why are you going to go and do the things you need, pick up the phone? Nothing's going to happen. So, that comes back to, so exposure is pretty easy. Get out, meet people, offer them a service, and anything. What do you have of value that you can give to other people, to add value to them, to connect them into your world, to connect into their world? And that's how you start your business. I did it when the first business I ever started. I had shares in it, but my responsibility, there were some shareholders, my responsibility was drive and grow the business. The largest client that I closed for 7 months, they were a big mining concern. For 7 months, I spent a week a month on the mine. And what I did is I went underground in their plants, all over that mine with my notebook, and I wrote them a huge report after 7 months. I tested products. I gave them a huge amount of stuff for free with no guarantee I was going to get any business. But I served and served and served. 7 months later, I closed a deal, and pretty much for the 3 years I was in that business, I had 90% of that mine's business. But it took some time, but I was very clear on where I was going and what I wanted to create. But when I was doing the serving, I served. I gave them incredible value. But my partners had little voice issues when they were asking me, dude, you're flying to that mine, spending a week there. It was in Zimbabwe. It was about half an hour drive from the Great Victoria Falls. So they, in their mind, had little voices thinking that I was on holiday at Victoria Falls at their expense when I was telling them I was working on this coal mine.
Right.
And you can see little voices. And that little voice could have detracted me and said, stop, you spent too much money. But I didn't. I overcame that little voice and closed the deal. When I closed the deal, do you think they were happy?
No, for sure.
Very happy.
Right.
But so it goes back to the little voice, and goes back to the first sale of all is the sale we make to ourselves. And that's where, for me, sales is the most important thing.
For me, there's a big element in terms of what you just shared, and it's an amazing story. In terms of also strategies, like who you serve. Because there's no point in trying to serve people that actually, even though as much as they like your service, they're really not going to use it or be able to give you the value that you really want out of it. So what ends up happening, what I've seen in the market, is that people end up driving their prices so low, and then it's all about charging low, and actually it ends up being that they have to spend, have to see so many more clients, and they tire themselves out completely.
And then they hate it, and then they quit, and then they go get a flipping job, and
exactly,
then they hate
right?
it, and their life sucks.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, the elements, I think the big lesson there is like literally coming down to be strategic. Know who your client is that will actually that can make use of your service, that may appreciate what you're doing, and then you go out and you serve and you serve and you serve, and you learn. You pick up a lot from that.
So we have a 6-step sales process, as you know, coming on the Sales Explosion program.
Yes.
Simple 6 steps. And the very first one is find customers with money, or find people with money.
Yes.
And what that means is not only people that have the wherewithal to pay you for your service, but find people that will use you, that want you, that like you, that will engage with you. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are doing a lot of work, but just trying to sell to the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know, doing stuff to people that'll never ever use them. You're right. So it's understanding who those people are. In a new business, sadly, you got to learn that by making mistakes. You know, I dealt with Marlon. You know, people like Marlon are never going to use my thing. What is it about Marlon? I don't know. Marlon's a sportsman, and I have no common ground with sportsmen. Okay, good. So I'm not going to deal with sportsmen, but I'm going to deal with entrepreneur, whatever it might be. But you create clarity in where you go, and you'll connect and find common ground in a client base that will connect with you.
Brilliant. So thank you very much again for coming. We're actually working on because Barry's busy at this moment in time, putting out all that content around the 6-step process. So you'll be able to get that on his website, and you'll be able to find out more about what's this thing, a funnel. Because we mentioned quite a number of things here and try to condense it in a short period of time, just to maximize it and try and give people as much value as possible. So I will put a link so that people can get access to that, and also connect with you at possibly your events and connect more with your information. But a lot of the stuff that I talk about as well is coming also from you, so that's also excellent to they will just get it reaffirmed.
So we talked about doing things for free.
Yeah.
So for example, as you know, I have a free event.
Yeah.
And I do a couple on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
I've got one. Those of you that are in South Africa, are in Johannesburg and want to attend in March, and Marlon will let you know about that. But I have a number of free events coming up in February and in March. They're 2-hour events, and honestly, you'll come and I believe you'll get 2 hours worth of teaching, and you'll be able to walk out of there with a whole lot of information in terms of what we do and how we do it and what I teach. And the simple thing is, what I'm looking for is people that are interested in what I teach. And if you like me, you'll connect with me and we'll build a relationship. If you don't, that's okay. But I guarantee they'll walk away with some serious value.
Yeah, either way, you'll leave with real tools to work with, and that will teach someone exactly how to sell. You'll be getting out of there, and there'll be so much that someone will be able to use. So thank you very much, Barry. It's been excellent hanging with you.
As always.
So this is a very exciting moment for us, because this is our first podcast from the Conceiving Global side of things. Thank you, Barry, for coming through, Barry Mitchell, and details and stuff you'll probably find in and around this video or audio. Look forward to meeting. We're gonna connect with Barry a couple more times, because there's so much in sales, there's so much in self-development, in personal development that he's got to share that I know that you're gonna want to listen to and find out about. So we'll connect at a later time.
Thank you, man.
Cheers. Cool.